Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Community Corner, where we take your questions and answer them. All right, so first off, with the upcoming update next week begins Shadows Eve.
Shadows Eve is back?
It's back.
Yeah,
Let's go.
It's spooky again.
The annual event for Shadows Eve. This year is going to be bigger and better. I'm going to run down the entire list. We don't have a dev stream next week, but I'm going to run through this entire list for you guys. Take notes. So it begins next week. It will run from October 10th through October 31st. That's Halloween. The big thing here, as soon as you load up into that map, there's major environmental changes. All of us have gotten to see them. They're awesome. We have a trailer that's coming out. You guys are good to see. We can't wait for you guys to jump in. I think it's going to be pretty good. There are 3 new skins this year. We have a Narbash skin, Wukong, and Yin. And then all of last year's skins will return with, I think it's 7 total. So there's 10 skins.
Nice.
It might be 6.
Somewhere around there.
So approximately 6. I can't remember all the skins from last year, but each of those previous skins, the legacy skins from last year, they will be available at different times throughout the week. So starting next week, you'll have the Daco Lantern Murdoch and Spider Witch Bellica will be available. And then Shadows Eve chest. This is a brand new event type thing that we're doing. They will drop. You have a chance to drop. Actually, let me clarify. There's a chance for Shadows Eve chests to drop after you complete a match. And they will feature all the Shadows Eve skins. So there's a chance for you to get the skins in there. There's a chance for you to get the previous Shadows Eve skins in there. There's a chance for you to get, I think this is the only way that you can get these, is there are concept banners of the new skins, the 3 new skins, Narbash, Wukong, and Yin.
Yeah, I haven't seen those either.
Yeah,
they
look good, man.
Nice.
So those will be in there as well. And then you'll also have rep boosts, crates, keys, mastery tokens, and pretty much all the other things that we put into chests available for the Shadows Eve drops after you complete a game. Now, again, there's just a chance that you can get each of these items. There's not a guarantee that you will get the Shadows Eve skins, but they will be available for purchase, and there's chances for you to earn them through the chests as you're playing games. So complete those matches. There's also going to be a 25% off discount. We call them spooky skins.
Oh, no, yeah, I giggled when I saw that. Yeah, 25% on spooky skins.
So spooky.
These aren't necessarily the Shadows Eve skins, but this is what we're calling spooky skins.
Dude, I'm gonna be hunting those chests for that Frankengruck skin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Frankengrucks, dude.
Mine is the Chimera Clown skin.
Oh, also, yeah, of course.
Terrifying.
Of course. That is the terrifying one. Yeah.
Silver Ghost Kwong. These are the 25% off discount. Silver Ghost Kwong, Death Mask Sevarog, Undertow Gideon.
Undertow Gideon, 25.
Biofreak Murdoch, White Tiger Greystone, and then Grux Pelt Chimera. So those are all there. Now,
I don't know how spooky a white tiger is, but like, let's chalk it up to there's a spectrum of spookiness.
you know,
Tigers can be spooky.
he's having fun.
Yeah,
he's
that's
just
fine.
dressing up. He's like, hey, I'm here to party.
Greystone. I get it. It's a whole
costume.
And like last year, this event will also be a part of Twitch. So if you have your Twitch account linked with your Epic ID, we will be dropping chests that will be granted to your account for viewers and streamers alike over on Twitch for Paragon. So the Twitch bot will be there notifying you if you've won. So tune into some of the Twitch streamers. I think last year we had Pookie, who was dressed up as the cat.
Oh, yeah.
I know that Gamer Fitness is working on Chimera.
Yeah.
For this year?
For this year, yeah, he'll be at TwitchCon, and
My dude has been in the gym.
Yes, he's been in the gym
for Chimera.
For Chimera?
Like he's
for
3D
Chimera.
printing his body.
Yeah.
Like forget 3D printing costumes. He's just like manually.
And then last but not least, there is a contest that will be going on during this time period that we're calling Stories of the Shadow. So the details will be posted in the official Shadows Eve blog, but essentially you guys can create a spooky story with some art and submit it to, I want to say Shadows Stories of the Shadows at shadowseve.com, at paragon.com.
We'll
How about
have
whatever's in the blog?
Whatever is in the blog.
There'll be an email in the blog.
I don't know the exact email yet, but well, you guys will know soon.
Yeah.
Soon enough. All right, so getting to v.43.3 notable changes. I'm going to go down the heroes first, and I'm going to let Colin talk specifically about the cards as well as some more stuff. So these are going to be a little bit more defined in the release notes. I just kind of grabbed them quickly for you guys. So ability armor defense has been increased on all heroes except for Steel, which he will remain the same. If you guys are wondering why, Steel has a blade of armor, which he's already a tear when it comes to that.
Yeah, and just to give more context for that change, we were looking at kind of just ability damage across the board being a bit too high. And rather than going through every single hero and just kind of chopping at the ability damage, we decided to increase the ability armor instead, because obviously it's fewer changes, which is nice, but also just it pushes everything towards our goal, and then we can adjust individual abilities that need to be increased or decreased after that. But we want to start from this point of just reducing the ability damage a little bit and seeing where that goes.
All right, there you go. Aurora, now she had her AoE and a lot of her abilities sped up. So in 43.3, she's going to have her glacial charge range reduced. Cryoism's cooldown is increased. The slow magnitude is reduced. And if you're wondering what that means is as she ults you, you get slowed and then you freeze. So when you get slowed this time, you'll be able to move a little bit further away before you get hit with the freeze, essentially. So you can create more space.
Yeah.
And then her basic attack, defense, and her base level her base per level has been reduced as well. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
The base and the per level growth, yeah.
There you go. Close enough. Fang Mao conversion shield magnitude has been reduced. Earth Shatter cooldown has been increased, and then the base movement speed has been reduced. I think he's the fastest hero currently.
Yeah, he was one of our kind of test cases when we changed the movement speeds, that everyone had different movement speed. We very much wanted to see like what the impact of having a hero that was kind of an outlier was, even though he had a dash and he had a slow. So obviously it was too much, and we kind of got the data we needed, and now we switched it.
Switch it back.
So there goes my dreams of a Too Fast, Too Furious Feng Mao skin.
Yeah, so it'll be reduced, and now he has to rely more on his blink and his slow to stick.
Okay. And then health regen reduction to the base and per level have also been reduced, and then attack damage per level has also been reduced. Then for Kwang, he has a lot of cooldown reductions across the board. Light of the Heavens cooldown has been increased. I'm sorry, did I say reduced? I meant increased. Judgment of the Heavens range has been reduced. Fury of the Heavens cooldown has been increased. The attack speed per level, health, and health regen per level have also been reduced. And then for Lieutenant Bellica, her seismic assault stun duration has been reduced at all levels. And then at the cap, it went from 2.2. It's down to 2 now at the high end.
It'll hit her early game more than it does her late game.
Her late game, right.
So the level 1 and 2 stuns in particular would be a lot less.
And then my boy Richter. A little buff here.
Yeah.
Riplash cooldown has been reduced. I think it was 14 at all levels.
I think so.
I don't have the exact numbers here, but I'm pretty sure it's 14 at all levels, and now it goes 14, 12, 11, 10, or something like that. I don't want to give exact numbers.
Refer to the
They're
patch
all
notes
in the
for
release
actual
notes, guys. Again, I just took high-level stuff for you guys. I did grab Skewer cooldown, though. It's being reduced to 60, 45, 30.
Which is a lot.
It's a lot.
A huge reduction.
It's a big one, and that's why I was able to grab that one, because I knew it was pretty substantial. Now, for card changes, Colin, there's a couple outliers that I think the community is kind of concerned about. Girl Totem, Unbroken Spirit.
Yep.
You have a chance.
Cyborg this week. So.
Yes, we already hit Cyborg with 43.2. And I know there's plenty of card changes coming up. Can you kind of talk about some of the high-level ones that are coming in?
I mean, the big thing is we knew with tank itemization in particular that tanks were successfully being both tanky and doing a lot of damage. So one angle to approach that was reducing the damage that Unstable Cyborg does, because that was something they were using for a lot of their damage output. So we did that on Tuesday, specifically so we can kind of get it out there and see the impact of just that change versus changing all of them at once. Then with 43.3, we're going to hit more of the items, and like take away power from those types of cards. We won't take it away completely because one of our goals for tanks is that they're able to apply pressure over a long period of time, so it supports that goal anyways. So they'll still have some power, but we're going to bring it back quite a bit. In addition to nerfs for, like I know, Unbroken Spirit, we reduced the health regen from 12% to 10% when you get stunned. And yeah, so basically like all of the tank itemization, I think almost all of them got some kind of power decrease.
I saw quite a few got power decreases, and some shifted power, like Numbing Rogue, I believe.
Numbing Rogue we swapped from power to
health.
Yeah.
Right. So I saw some changes in there like that. It
also got reduced to 20% instead of 25%.
25%. Yeah. There's a couple that I saw in there with that. There's other ones that I saw where we reduced attack speed on one and then like added 5 power. I can't remember which one specifically that is, but there's a lot of little changes that.
There's lots of little adjustments for sure. And one thing you'll notice, and I want to get ahead of it because I know everyone's going to freak out, but the carry items, Shatter Golem and Heavy Hitter, they get purchased in pretty much every single carry build, like really frequently. We reduced the power on those cards. It's not a statement about the meta. Like I know lots of people feel like carries are struggling right now.
Yeah.
It's just to promote build variety and let some of those other cards have a chance to be able to fix into builds. So the power on those came down a very small amount, but it's enough that we can kind of change it and see what happens and see if the other cards start to come into the fold a little bit more.
So maybe like go back into your decks after
43.3.
Yeah, and make some adjustments. Go through the collection screen and like just look through the cards and see what what's changed, what might have adjusted. So you may have to change out those favorite cards.
Yeah, for sure.
And one thing is we also we didn't talk about when we talked about heroes, but the carries all got at least a small buff to attack damage over time or per level. Sparrow in particular, I think, gets a pretty nice buff in this patch. So we're tackling the carry thing on the other side and tackling tank stuff and the itemization. So we're hoping that once all this is settled and this, the dust settles, that everything will be in a nice spot. This update is definitely more around small adjustments for both heroes and cards, trying to get everything kind of just flattened as far as performance.
Right.
And then, of course, addressing the tank itemization, which I think is the biggest outlier right now as far as performance.
So, one of the things that I know you wanted to touch on, and Cameron touched on a little bit last week, and I think the week before that he talked about it, but balance cadence.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I actually pulled a question without you telling me about wanting to talk about balance cadence. But I got this question from Jason Jacobs. Why don't you let the meta settle? And he actually mentions card games. Like in most card games, create a card and let it sit for a couple months. And you wanted to talk about balance cadence. So
well, the thing is, like, unfortunately, we get those types of questions where it's like, hey, like, you guys are changing things all the time. How is anyone supposed to actually get settled into the game and like actually adjust? Obviously, there's some amount of things that we just feel like we need to do in order to get the game done, so to speak. Like the jungle rework, for example, was something that we knew was on our list that, like, hey, we have to do this. We have to have more objectives of the jungle. That's something that we're working on now for the future. So we know there's things that we have to do, and we have to make those changes. Then when it comes to balance, it's, hey, why don't you guys change things faster? Like 3 weeks is a long time, so why aren't you guys quicker? And a lot of times people will point to, like, oh, when you released this hero and they were underpowered, you guys buffed them within 2 or 3 days.
Right.
And usually in those cases, it's the hero came out, was incredibly underpowered or overperforming either direction. So we need to make a change really quickly because new heroes have a crazy high pick rate. They're in every single match.
Right.
So we'll do a emergency change in those scenarios. We don't like doing those because there's no testing whatsoever on them. We're just putting numbers in for the first, like first pass guesses at what will actually change things. And as a result, we've overbuffed in a lot of cases. So we don't like doing that. We like to stick to a normal cadence. We're able to have a little bit of time to test. But 3 weeks ends up being about as fast as we can go because from Tuesday when this update goes live, we'll have 15 working days before the next release.
Yep.
We need to lock down the build for that release about a week early. So really that cuts it down to 10 working days. In order to get any kind of data from the build that we just pushed live or player feedback or kind of just see how the community is playing the changes we just made, it's what, 3, 4, 5 days?
Right.
So we end up having really about a 5-day test period where we make our changes based off of data, based off community feedback, based off of internal testing, based off of maybe changes that we made to the map or mode that update. So we'll make all those changes. We'll have about a week really to have them in, test them, try out things. possibly go through one round of iteration before we have to lock down the build and ship it. So as a result, 3 weeks is really as fast as you can go if you want to do things correctly. Because we do need to get the build locked down early, so there's time to test and verify, make sure everything's working, and just make sure that the things that we did are actually having the effect that we wanted. So I know it's like frustrating sometimes where it's like, man, I've been playing with this thing for 3 weeks and we feel the pain too, because it's like we want to push it out as fast as possible. We also don't want to release it broken and in a bad state.
And have more, just add on to the heartache that may be facing.
Yeah, or be in a scenario where it's like, man, Unstable Cyborg's ridiculous, and then we nerf it, and then it's like, yep, still ridiculous. So we don't want that to happen either. So we try to find like where that line is that we can kind of toe. And then, hell, in the case of Unstable, we did push it a week early. Like that actually had almost no testing internally before we changed it.
Right, and
just because it was like, let's see what happens. And
wasn't there was also a bug that was affecting
when we first released Unstable, there was a bug, which made it so that the issues with Unstable surfaced way later because we fixed the bug, I think in 43, maybe before then. So yeah, there's just a lot that goes into it. I just wanted to speak on the balance cadence things. I see both comments. We really want to get to a point where we can let this stuff simmer for maybe 6 weeks between updates, or maybe just have like little tiny updates along the way instead of having to do these big sweeping things where we're hitting 12, 13, 14 heroes. And I think last update we hit like 40 some cards. So we definitely would like to get to a point where we're able to just kind of let everything sit for a while and let everything develop. One thing that I've noticed as the cards balance representative is a lot of cards just don't get used a lot, and I feel like if you actually were to look at them and break them down, you'd see that they're actually pretty viable. Like you can use them for sure. And in lower brackets, they do get used, and higher brackets, they don't really get touched because people stick to the meta. And having more time to kind of let the build gestate and for people to try different things would let some of those cards come up, I think. So we want to get to that point.
Okay. What do you feel like as of right now from the new cards? Obviously 42 is a big change with all the new card system, the gems, and people kind of learning the system. How do you feel about the progress that we're making with some of these passes on cards, and where do you feel like we'll be, what would you consider a good state, I guess, for cards overall?
I think we're really close. I mean, we actually, and it's easy to forget all of this because we've done so many changes since then, but we released 42 and it was what, Wukong, Sacred Alchemy,
Knights of Asher,
Mei-Link's Tribute, and Godmother Vigilance.
Godmother Vigilance.
Oh man, Godmother Vigilance, remember that? Wow, that seems like it was like an eternity ago, but it was really like a couple months. And after that we had Stacking Auras, and everyone was running Plague Lord and Withering Shadow, and then we had the tank thing. So like each time has been something different, and I think the amount of things which are causing problems has been reduced over time. I think we're at a point where after this tank pass, I think that we've probably got it in a pretty close spot. Obviously, there's still some stuff we need to sort out, and we'll continue to push on that. And there's a few like itemization holes we want to hit with new content, which hopefully we'll be able to start getting to that. We want to get everything in a nice spot first. So I think we're close. I think within the next, certainly by like 44 pushing onward, I think we'll start to be in a nice stable spot where we're hitting fewer things and maybe bringing up just some of the lower performers in each update instead of having to hit all the big stuff.
Okay. And then last week, Cameron, we read off some data points for Unstable Cyborg, and Cameron wanted you to speak to more about how the context and how we use the data. As opposed to player feedback and internal feedback. Like that was the basis for that was like, hey, this is the whole flow and process of how we take these things into account. And
I think what we talked about last week got warped a little bit, which was probably almost entirely our fault because we pushed out the Unstable Cyborg data. The number we gave was wrong, just outright. The underlying data that we collect was correct, but the way that it was presented was wrong. So as a result, we got a erroneous takeaway. Obviously, Unstable's in almost all the matches at high MMR. And we fixed all of our data. Sure enough, it is in almost every match at high MMR. But I wanted to elaborate, I wanted to emphasize that the data is correct. We don't have any issues with our data. It was just the way that it was being presented and resulted in a misleading thing. But a lot of people took that as they're not going to change Unstable because of this. And really, usage rate doesn't affect our balance approach very much. Sure, we look at it and we say like, okay, people are using these cards a lot, so maybe we should investigate. But really, we look at success rates with those cards, and that's the thing that when we pull data, it's if I have this card longer than my opponent, then how does that affect my win rate? And we look at stuff like that, where it's like, how does this card impact my success in the match more so than everyone's buying this thing? Because if everything's buying this thing, it could be for a lot of reasons. Like Shatter Goal on a lot of people buy is just straightforward. Like it's straightforward. It's what they expect to buy to do more damage.
Right.
So it's in a lot of matches. But when you look at something that's on like a lower end of the scale, or even Cyborg, for example, where in lower MMRs it is only in a small percentage of matches, but as you go higher, it's almost every match. So usage rate doesn't tell us a lot, and really what we were trying to emphasize was usage rate is why we don't do things like emergency next day patches.
Right. And the thing about the way it was presented was like usage rate based on the data was like, it's not, we're still changing it, right?
Yeah,
and that was
we had the
said.
update already.
Yeah, it was like
the update was going
we're
live
already
Tuesday.
changing this.
Yeah.
And so what we wanted to do was present data in a way that's like, doesn't matter how many people are using it. What we're looking at are different factors that also contribute to it.
Right.
So if you see some of the cards in this update where it's like, oh, I don't know why they changed that, it's probably because of our actual success win rate type data and not anything else. We look at that kind of stuff. We obviously look at community impressions and thoughts. We look at what the top players are using, and in some cases we're collecting, hey, why do you guys use this type feedback?
Sure.
Internal testing, obviously. In some cases it is usage rate, usually on the lower end, where it's like, hey, no one's really using this at all. So can we change the content to make it more compelling, or can we potentially just give it some numbers increase to make it so that more people feel like it's viable? Static Trap, for example, is getting some updates in 43.3. It's something that we feel is like right on the cusp of being a very viable thing that lots of people use. So we're going to try to we're decreasing the activation time from 1.25 to 1.0 seconds
For activation.
Yeah, and it sounds like that wouldn't change much, but actually it opens up a lot of things where you can like chain it with your other CC or place it in front of people as they're running away. So we kind of shifted the card a little bit in order to make it work, by reducing the duration of the actual route and so on and so forth.
Yep.
So there's lots of opportunities where we kind of say, hey, no one's really using this as much as we'd expect, or hey, this seems like a really good card, but no one really values it. So what can we do to kind of change it and adjust it?
Right.
How important is it for you to have as much usage opportunities for cards in the current system as possible? I'm saying that as a way that seems rhetorical, right? Like as much as possible, but it's like obviously some cards are good for some phases of the game, right? So is it important to have a balance between each phase? Do you think about it holistically? What are some of those thought processes that go into play?
Yeah, I mean, one of our goals is that so there's nothing wrong with there being a quote unquote like best tank build, for example. Like there's probably 3 cards that make you the most tanky.
Right.
The thing that we don't want you to have to do is say, okay, I want to be tanky, so I have to use these 3 cards. Like that's the thing we're trying to avoid. And we're trying to pose other options as far as like, and the example I gave in one of my posts on Reddit last week talking about this was tanks have essentially a few jobs. One is to mitigate damage. One is to put pressure on enemies to deal with them. And sometimes that's utility. Sometimes it's damage. Sometimes it's crowd control, right?
Crowd control, yep.
So sometimes it's something like Numbing Rogue, where it's like, you don't kill me, then I'm going to make your DPS lower for the next until I die.
Yeah.
So things like that make you focus them. So we like the idea of there's a Withering Shadow that makes you focus them, which is you're going to take damage over time. There's a Numbing Rogue that makes you focus them, which is you're going to have your attack speed reduced. There's a Black Ice routine where like I'm going to apply some crowd control to you.
Yep.
Having those different options for how you tank is really what the spirit of the card system's about and what we're trying to encourage. So when we're making changes, we're trying to give people the opportunity to try different things and be creative and really tune their play style with the hero exactly how they want it versus having to rely on, okay, I'm a tank, so I guess I buy these things.
Regardless of what baseline I'm at, I can self-select like what I'm going to do in that particular game itself.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's generally our goal.
Okay.
With really all classes, including tanks.
Okay. So I pulled, we kind of answered the meta question. I only had a couple questions this week that weren't about the cards. So PS4 chat bug has been a thing for a little bit. When is it being fixed? This is from T.O. Poke. It's actually fixed in 43.3, which is the upcoming update. Now, there's a couple other things that kind of occurred, which were like the PS4 controller not working properly on PC. That's something that we're looking into and investigating. I don't have an ETA on that will get addressed, but we are certainly working on that. And the other thing I continue to mention is since we released 43 with the new visual art for the map, we're continuing to hammer on stability and improvements across the board for like frame rate, crashes, all of those things that make it difficult for you to play. So each week we're hoping, or at least I should say each client build, we're hoping to improve upon the issues that are causing you guys to not be able to play and enjoy the content. So I've still seen some people talk about PS4 kind of chugging, or for the low end PC guys kind of chugging. Even on the high end, if you play on epic settings, we've seen some of the high end guys talk about frame rate issues. So these are all things that we're aware of, and we're trying to get those squashed out as soon as possible. You got anything, Mooney?
No, dude. I'm just I'm really kind of looking forward to revamping my deck, like after like a lot of the changes come in, because I feel like I was trying to actually get a couple of games where like I'd feel that feeling where like I felt the need, because when I come in, like I want to play some Paragon. It'd been a little bit. I want to come back and play. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna grab like what I think is like what is the current optimal tank build and just make my tweaks to it, like what people are playing popular, because that's what I do with game. Like when I come back to play a game, like what's working for people. Let me take that and I'll put my own twist on it.
Yeah.
So like it's nice when like there's like more updates to those cards and then like that suite that I use, because then I can go back and be like, all right, maybe like a different card now makes it into like the set, like my current set of cards that I'm functioning within. Because yeah, I'm not going to use the whole collection at all times, but like I'll have like a subset of the collection that I'm working in where I'm just like, oh, I could try this week and see how it's working out and see what my, like if this like actually ends up being viable for I'm trying to play Steel like then, or trying to play Kwong or whoever.
So kind of talking a little bit about that since we got Colin here. So one of the heroes that I've been playing on and off whenever I get on, I've tried him in a number of different spots. Since Cameron said is Wraith. Since Cameron said, hey, he's going to be more like a carry now. So I tried him over in the carry lane. They had mixed results. I tried him in mid lane, obviously. And then more recently, I tried him in the off lane. So nice. I actually had a heck of a lot of fun playing off lane Wraith. And I was using some of the cards that you and I had discussed. Yeah. Static Trap, Glycerin Dawn. Nice. But I think one of the things that I noticed is like, if you have a way that you want to play, like an idea in your head on how you can play a hero based on the cards, you can really try to mix and match things to fit into like, hey, if I play in this way and use these types of things, I can have some success. And then it's about like that repetition of like, how many different scenarios do I have to see for this to be successful and viable? Yeah. And that's just how I think about things, right? And so it kind of reminds me of our days competing when we would run the same strat over and over and over again, because we would see, I don't know, however many different variations of how people will react to the situation. And so once we learn that, hey, this person, or there's a high chance that someone will react like this based off of the way we're running it, we then had a follow-up. So, okay, 90% chance that this person is going to do this, then that means we're going to do this, or I'm going to do this. And then after that, you find the steps in which you get the continued reaction from your competition. So that's kind of how I think about the way I build my heroes now in game. It's like, okay, if I use this early, odds are I'm going to see this. And then we switch to mid game. Okay, I'm going to see this, and this is how I need to react. So I really love that about the cards and heroes. So seeing people get locked down with my Static Trap, and now knowing it's better with Wraith is like, hey, I'm gonna back you up, and then you're gonna sit on that Static Trap, and then I'm gonna snipe you. That's super fun.
Cryo Agent too went from 4-second cooldown to 2.5.
2.5 second. Yeah, that's right.
Probably work well on Wraith.
Oh yeah, I actually have that in my deck too already. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's community corner. We really appreciate all of the very candid feedback about things.
Very candid.
I mean, you know, it is what it is. You know, we try to be upfront and honest with you guys. Some people agree, some people disagree. Yep. That's game development, and we're very transparent in what we're doing and you know, our design philosophies and you know, how we're trying to improve the game. And sometimes that's not for everyone. Yep. And you know, we just like to be upfront and honest with folks, and there's nothing wrong with not being in agreement on things. You know, I think ultimately all of us, you guys at home, people that are actively passionate one way or the other, supporting or not supporting decisions. We all want what's best for Paragon, and that is to make the game successful and to continue to grow the game and to grow the community. So again, we appreciate all the candid feedback. We love it here. So it shows that you guys care. The worst would be if you didn't say anything, because then that would be concerning. If you didn't have any feedback, that is the most concerning thing for us, because then we know it's like, no one cares, right? So we're very appreciative of all of you guys out there, and we'll see you guys next time.